Everybody, happy Palm Sunday, Sunday afternoon, and I am so grateful for everyone's prayers and comments. You all are so great. You've absolutely overwhelmed me with requests for updates. My phone is going crazy all the time. I apologize. That's part of the responsibility of asking for your prayers, is giving you updates. So I want to give you an update on my parents in just a minute. Also, I've had a couple people say, I think that they're honest, but at least one of them I'm pretty sure is snarky. People asking me for more commentary about the Wuhan. I actually have some extraordinary information. A guy sent me some data yesterday. Actually, a couple of guys have been sending me data that you're not seeing on the mainstream media. It's coming out on other alternative media, but stuff that's supporting kind of the contrarian notion, the idea that this whole thing has been blown out of proportion. I'm going to put that in some graphs, share it with you shortly. So I'll get to that in just a minute. But if you are like me and you've gone out to the grocery store, or you're talking to friends and family, or you're online, you are seeing evidence that people are living in a state of fear and panic. And that manifests itself in unusual behavior, usually bad behavior. So I wanted to share something about that, and then I'm going to give you an update on my parents. I have some thoughts about panic because I've been through some ups and downs in my life. I've been through severe crises. I've been through life and death situations, not just with my own life, but worse with those that I love. And when you go through those kinds of things, you realize at some point that you're not in control, that the sense that we have of control in our life, it's completely illusory. The higher you are socioeconomically, the more education you have, the more successful you are, the greater the likelihood is that you think you're in control of your life. There are more aspects of your life that you are telling yourself you're in control of. But it's really illusory because it can all be taken away from you in a moment, whether it's the government, whether it's your health, whether it's society collapsing around you, whether it's someone who betrays you or abandons you, whatever. You realize you're not in control. You thought you were, but you're not. And that's what's happening right now to all sorts of people. They've lost their jobs. They don't know what's going to happen next. They're in fear of being infected. They're in fear of losing someone. They don't know what's going to happen when this is all over, right? So our society overall is going through something that most people have never gone through in their lifetime, right? Society's been pretty good. Life has been pretty good the last 50 years or so. And the old saying that good times make for soft men, hard times make for strong men. There's a lot of soft men out there. Of course, we're not just talking about men, we're talking about women too. So folks in our society, they're not ready for this toughness that we're going through. And so they're acting out. And when you go to the grocery store, you can see people misbehaving. If you're still in a state that's not completely locked down, like here in Tennessee, you can see people acting up out in public. You may have even seen this in your own family or online. If you're on my timeline, you're seeing people acting inappropriately, and even people maybe who tend towards certain ways, they're acting more in that way. A couple of you have asked me, why don't I block so-and-so, or why don't I mute someone, or why don't I delete all their comments? And the reason for that is those comments stand there as kind of a reflection of their behavior. It gives them an opportunity to pause and do a reflection, an examination of conscience. Your responses to those people stand there so that others can come later and see how you've offered them gentle correction, how you've shared the truth when error was threatening to take over. That's why I leave it there, because sometimes a stop sign is helpful. So let's talk about panic very quickly. Fear and panic, they mess you up. Your heart starts pumping quickly. Your brain is flooded with adrenaline. Your muscles literally start twitching. That's why when we're scared in a movie, we jump, because everything is primed for that fight or flight kind of a reflex. And that's great if you're trying to get away from a wild bear, or if you're in an urban setting and you got to run for your life. That's great. But when it comes to making decisions, this causes our brains not to work in exactly the same way. Our vision literally narrows. Our brain prioritizes things that in a survival situation would be important, but in a rational, critical thinking mode, those things get deprioritize. Okay. And so people make bad decisions when they're in fear, when they're in panic. Everything from the stock market to making decisions about your family to controlling your own temptations. When we're under stress and fear and so forth, we make bad decisions. You can see that in the stock market. People tend to sell at a low and buy at a high. Their emotions get the better of them. They do exactly the wrong thing. So you're seeing that right now. I know I've seen that in the first person. People panic, they lash out, they're showing fear, they don't know what to do, they're losing control, and they get mean and nasty, and they do the opposite of what they should do in terms of decision making. So here's how you can make sure that you don't fall into that. Number one, when you feel yourself starting to get agitated, when you feel like you're in fear, anxiety, uncertainty, if you're feeling depressed, if you're sad, if you're angry, the very first thing you need to do is stop and take a deep breath. Breathe in through your nose, breathe out through your mouth, slowly and deeply. And this isn't some sort of weird Zen kind of meditation, all right? This is literally a physiological check, a way to fix what's happening to your body, to get your body back under control, because your mind is stronger than your body if you choose to use it. So breathe in through your nose as deep as you can and blow out through your mouth slowly. And that will literally slow your heart rate down. It will stop that production of adrenaline that's making you jumpy and nervous. And if you find that you're still nervous and energy, here's another trick. Wiggle your toes. Wiggling your toes requires a surprising amount of effort. Nobody else can see it. And that's important because one of the things we want to do is set a good example for the people around us. Fear is far more contagious than this Wuhan virus is. So if you're a husband, a wife, a father, a mother, anyone that other people are observing, set a good example. Don't live your life in fear. And if you are afraid, breathe deeply, wiggle your toes, burn off that energy. Next thing, pray, and start with gratitude. Start by spending 80% of your time in prayer, thanking God for my life, this day, the opportunity to suffer. Think about radical gratitude. I have air conditioning. I have internet. I know what's going on in the world. I can prepare. I can plan. All of the things in your life. Make that the primary amount of your prayer to reset that sense of proportionality in your life, of how good your life is. Most of us, we're in the 1% of people who've ever lived. Many of us are in the 1% of people who are alive right now. We have a lot to be grateful for. If you're living in gratitude, you won't be fearful. You won't be panicking. You won't be spreading panic. You'll be setting a good example. Now, another step, my number 2 brought me some Polliner Salvatore. Thank you very much for that. Special little treat on Sunday. The other thing to do is kind of play this what if game. What if? What if this thing I'm fearful about actually happens? What if I get sick? Guess what? I might get sick. I might suffer. I might even die. It's very unlikely, right? If I get sick, 98.5% chance I'm going to survive, pretty good odds. But what if that did happen? Well, hopefully I'm ready to meet my maker. Hopefully I've lived my life today as if I might die tonight. So for anybody who believes in the Nicene Creed, this should be nothing. We should be ready at all times to die. You say, well, I'm not worried about myself. I'm worried about my parents. And I've had a lot of nasty hate mail. I mean, really nasty hate mail since my parents got sick 8 days ago, since they went into the hospital yesterday. I mean, I got a pretty thick skin, but some of this stuff is pretty awful. So people would say, well, you care about your life. You don't care about anybody else's life. You're just a jerk. You're a heartless jerk. One person said I was exploiting my parents' illness to get this. I was exploiting my parents' illness to get likes on Facebook. Think about that. I'm the guy who just got rid of 3,000 friends on Facebook. I used to have 5,000. I got 2,000 now. Why does somebody do that who's interested in likes? I mean, this is the level of mental illness, of spiritual sickness that we're dealing with in the world. And if you go to LifeSite News right now, you can see the priest talking about how the devil is using fear to completely pervert society. That's what's happening around us. Excuse me. So the next thing you got to do is what if scenario. What if this worst thing happens? Now what? What if I die? I'm going to go and be judged. Hopefully, I've been living my life the right way. Hopefully, I've repented. What if my dad, who I love dearly, dies? Well, hopefully, I've been praying for him. Hopefully, he's been preparing. Have I done everything in charity that I should towards him if that's going to happen? He's 73. It could happen at any time, right? Live your life as if you believed what you say you believe on Sundays. And then finally, after you've prayed, now's the time to act. Now's the time to go do something. Excuse me. After you've done all of this, that's what you want to do. Now, here's the update from my parents. So you all remember 8 days ago, they tested positive for the virus. 7 or 8 days ago, tested positive. Kind of went through some ups and downs, as is typical with this thing. There are some peaks and valleys in terms of the severity of symptoms. Yesterday, things got bad. They went to the hospital. They got oxygen. They were both given the anti-malarial treatment that you all have, many of you have emailed me about it. Oh, here's another one. Somebody, yeah, I see what you're saying. Somebody actually wrote me and said, you're lying about that. You're making that up. They didn't really get it. I don't know what to tell you people. I'll have my dad on. We'll do one of these lives together, and he can tell you about his experience. So they got oxygen. They got the anti-malarial treatments. They had a rough night, but they're feeling better. And I'm hoping that they're even going to go home today. So I will keep you posted on that. All right, let's see. What else? I will respond to you privately on that question. Oh, let me thank, wonderful this weekend, 4 priests offered their masses for my parents. Father Forsyth of the Diocese of Nashville, Father Gideon, also of this diocese, a priest of the Society of St. Pius X flew in from St. Louis, offered Mass for my parents, and then Father Shannon of the Missionaries of St. John the Baptist offered his Mass this morning for my parents. These are wonderful priests, so please pray for them. They're doing a lot, and I'm sure that my parents are not the only ones they're praying for. Now, I will keep you all updated this afternoon. Check back later tonight or tomorrow morning for some big stuff on this virus. Some of you know what's happening. It's kind of extraordinary. There's some bad news. There's some really bad news. And there's some really good news. So I'll try and share that with you in a succinct way that I think is relevant and helps us all to keep in mind what's going on proportionately. Now, and no, this cough I've got, it's not the Wuhan, it's allergies. Middle Tennessee is terrible for allergies this time of year, and it's killing me. Oh, one more thing. My number 5 has tonsillitis, so keep him in your prayers. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you all. Appreciate everything. God bless you. See you later.